so much of social media is about giving value, and the more value you can give, like the more, like I said, trust you can build. So my question for you today is, are there any just basic ways you can help any of us today manage anxiety? Like what do you have for us?
You know, what I have to offer in that realm is what's in the last even 6 months has become a real national conversation, and that's breath work, breathing. So there's a lot of different techniques that are really viable. Some of it's called like the square. In breath for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. Something like that's pretty helpful. There's another one if you're actually kind of in a panic.
Good morning, Albuquerque. We're at 1 million cups. If you wanted to be somewhere else, just stay anyway. See if it works out for you. We're caffeinating entrepreneurs every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., one of almost 200 chapters across the country. Please check in. If you're here 3 times and you check in using that, you'll get a pen. 6 times gets you a notebook. Do it. No.
Do you need another?
9 times you just get educated, right? I mean, you have a street MBA by that time. Okay, so what we're trying to do is lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection. So the entrepreneurial journey is generally a lonely one. Your family thinks you're nuts for quitting your job. You can't talk to them. People in the company, it'd be bad for morale if you talk to them, but you could come here and talk about your problems and your challenges and the things that you need. And how do we facilitate that? The Kauffman Foundation has a program where they train organizers to run a chapter and teach us how to coach presenters so that there's a consistent format from one instance of 1 million cups to another. And if you travel across the country and stop in somewhere, you'll find a room full of people you don't know, but the format and the presentations and the questions will be very familiar. So this is the Southwest region, and we are the only chapter in New Mexico, but there's plenty of others, and I've actually been to 2 of those physically and 1 of them virtually. If you're a big fan of 1 million cups, you can attend on the East Coast at 7 in the morning Mountain Time because it's 9 over there. Have a cup of coffee, come in here and get a second dose. So if you're a real fan, you know, there's plenty of million cups to go around. Okay, so what are the key pillars here? These are presentations, not pitches. And the way we make that distinction is in a pitch, you're typically raising money. So your company is going to knock off Apple, Amazon, Google, all those guys all at once, and you have everything you need except the cash. We know that the situation in a startup is different from that. You have challenges all the time. There are flashing red lights with buzzers going on, and you don't know what to do about those. So you can come here, tell us about it, and you can find people who know how to get you through that problem, or at least to provide a sympathetic ear over a cup of coffee. These are real connections, not just passing out business cards. So if you go to some of the alternatives for business folks, like, I mean, I'll drop a name, Chamber of Commerce in general is for like bankers and car companies and, you know, home repair and builders. You know, startup people don't fit there, but you do fit here. And there's a lot of people who know a lot of things that you don't know, and you just have to talk to everybody to find what you're looking for. We're run for the community, by the community. All of our organizers are volunteers. We are paid in experience. And I have to say, how long have you been a volunteer? Since inception, right? Yeah. So something's in it for Lisa. I know what's in it for me. I've made a lot of really great connections through this. And it's been a great part of my entrepreneurial journey. We're radically and intentionally inclusive. All kinds of people, all kinds of businesses, mom and pop retail, whiteboard companies that just got a grant, and big tentpole companies that come in here and teach us a few things. All those people are welcome here. We have something to learn from them and something to teach. All right, that's our mission statement in general. This is here to remind me not to read the whole thing to you, but be nice to people, right? This is a place where we learn things from each other. If you have a sharp disagreement with someone about something, you might want to just put that on pause and think about it for a while, because we want this to be a friendly and welcoming place. They'll learn on their own anyway. If they're really, really wrong, they'll have bark chins like so many entrepreneurs do. Okay, it's also easy to apply to present. You just talk to one of the organizers and we'll talk you through the website, right? If you have a for-profit business, that is, you sell goods or services for more than it costs to produce them, you're eligible. And we will coach you and get you in shape to give a real 1 million cups presentation. We prefer that the company was 5 years old or less, but we do make exceptions for organizers, for example. Here's our organizing team. I'm Paul Sauter. Lisa Atkins has been on this team longer than anybody, right?
No, I think Eric has.
Oh, Eric. Eric's a
I
founder.
mean, I've been your host since day one.
Exactly. So like, look who's here, right? I mean, Eric might even be here virtually, but he's not here to stand up for himself, so we can trash him. Then there's Adam, who is here. See, this is how we encourage the organizers to attend, right? And Sonia, who's attending remotely, so we'll only say nice things about her. Go to Amazon and buy everything she talks about. And,
I like that.
there you go. Someone with all the stars. And Keiko and Oscar with Legacy Family Documentaries. They're lots of fun to talk to. As well.
They're helping with the videos too, and I really appreciate
Oh
that.
yeah, because we have a big backlog of that too, right?
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. And we couldn't be here without our sponsors. Most importantly, Fat Pipe, our home for 8 years. Right. Jason Cullen Photography, always make his look good, except when he's not here. More Than Organized, who is here, helping you organize your stuff and your mind and providing creamer. Foundation for Sustainable Living, coffee, but not the coffee they usually sell from Colombia because that's all contracted out. So he provides coffee. Noventum Custom Software, great software, good carbs, right? Donuts back there, might still be some left. And you can't see behind the screen here is Envive Solutions. There we go. Bringing tea and fruit when they're here and helping to wean you from the demon bean.
I do want to add that our sponsor, Jason Cullen Photography, is online this morning.
Yeah.
All right. So he'll be doing screenshots, I guess. All right. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Adam.
Thank you.
And you can let us know what's going to happen next.
So this morning, our speaker is new to the group here, but he's joined in with working with us early on in figuring out his new steps in his business. So I feel really privileged that he's coming here to kind of figure that out with us. And there was he's going to try and when he's going to be talking about the brain, and when he's talking about it, he's going to try and keep it to things that are like pretty straightforward when he's talking, but you can ask him deeper questions during the Q&A. So come on up. Jay.
Good morning. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here, and it's all about anxiety this morning, or actually my business. Normally when I talk to people, I do try to raise my voice because I know it doesn't carry that well, but if you're not able to hear me, feel free to stand up and go like this or wave, or you don't count. I'm sorry. So, I'll just go ahead and get started. The journey begins with a degree in psychology right out of high school. Always interested in behavioral science. But like so many of my fellow psychology graduates, I ended up not going into that field. I was, because of a part-time job to put myself through college in custom cabinetry, I just got drawn into that. I loved it. Had always loved woodwork. From there, I went into remodel work, and by the time I basically kind of exited the construction industry, I was building some custom homes. But I never lost the interest. Always tried to kind of keep up with the field a little bit. And somewhere around 2005, I became associated with a counseling agency called the Attachment Healing Center. They work with children that have been diagnosed with severe attachment disorders. And it was an opportunity for me to learn about attachment theory, which was largely unknown when I was getting my degree. Kind of filled in one of the missing blanks for me. And so 2008 was a real pivot point for me because of the real estate calamity. I call it a disaster. All of a sudden, the market for what I was doing just went away. And it turns out by that time I was pretty burned out with construction anyway. So I thought, well, good time to look for something different. A friend of mine suggested that I look into hypnotherapy, and my first reaction was, you got to be kidding me. but I decided to go ahead and look into it and found it to be much more fascinating than I expected. It actually also, like attachment theory, kind of filled in some of the missing things for me that psychology many years ago did not really fill in for me or educate me about. So I started seeing clients in 2015. That went until 2020 when COVID came along, and I decided to just hit the pause button at that point. Decided it was a good time for me to rethink what I was doing, rebrand, and pursue something in that arena, but maybe a little differently than I had to. That focus ended up being anxiety. I noticed among all my clients, a lot of them, regardless of what they came to me for, there was anxiety running through it. And many of them I was able to help, but a lot of them I was not able to help. And so decided that that would be a good area for me to really explore. So what that says up at the top is the mission statement. And it's to provide people a better understanding about the body-mind nature of anxiety and how to utilize that information. And what it's really about is resilience. So anxiety is not a pathology. It's a normal part of our body. It's a system that says, hey, there's some danger about, and you need to attend to that. So without anxiety, because it's about survival, literally we could die if we don't attend to what anxiety is trying to tell us about. Turns out anxiety untreated can lead to some more severe consequences, even heart disease, autoimmune disease, cancer. So it's pretty serious business. So it's not about getting rid of it. It's about learning how to address it and coming back to a more normal state. And that I call resilience. So this is kind of an interesting graph. You may not be able to see what's on the left side of there, but what they're really saying is that we often think of depression as being the biggest mental health issue of our times. Turns out that's not quite so according to this graph, because this top one is actually anxiety disorders. The fact that it calls it anxiety disorder is kind of an interesting conversation, because disorder would suggest pathology, but of course, as I just said, it's not a pathology. It's a normal part of our body, our physiology. And it turns out anxiety is a physiology. It's not a psychology, even though there are mental, emotional elements to it. But the reason I wanted to point out that the disorder is that that's a category. It's actually a category in the DSM-5 manual. And for those of you that are familiar with that, that's the manual that doctors and psychiatrists identify when they're applying for insurance reimbursement. There's a whole huge population of people with anxiety that doesn't fall into that category, meaning that it's not so bad that they can't even function. It just means that, well, anxiety is causing a lot of turbulence in their lives, but they're kind of able to function. I would even include more people based on my research and my experience with my clients. There are some conditions that would not be looked upon as anxiety, but I see it in many cases to be a severe case of anxiety, and that would be things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome, overactive bladder. So the point is, if we included all of the people that I've talked about, there's no telling how long that bar might actually be. So there's a huge population there. And as I'll allude to in a moment, the challenge for me is to figure out which piece of it would be my market. So here's the issues to address today. So my current structure for the workshop is a 5-hour course. It's broken up into 2.5 sessions, 1 week apart, 2 consecutive Monday evenings. The reason for the separation, number one, 5 hours is too long for one shot. And secondly, it gives them an opportunity to absorb some of the information, fill out some questionnaires, and be thinking about the issues during the week. So the questions I'm looking at are one, venue, in person or online. So much of the world is moving to online right now, but that's viable in a lot of cases. But the problem with online is it gives people an opportunity to hide. It's real easy to hide behind a screen. Part of addressing anxiety, part of that resilience is learning to be with people. And so I personally prefer people, but I'm not opposed to looking at the issue of online. So a little feedback on that would be helpful. That kind of plays into the model. My model, of course, is fee per workshop. You come to the workshop, you pay money. This is just the beginning. I actually haven't had a filled workshop yet. And my marketing efforts, which are only in the weeks now, not months, not that great. So the other model might be the funnel. Have a free 30-minute workshop and basically bring them down to the point of going to a larger workshop. So I would enjoy some conversation around that. And then finally would be the target market, how to identify them, and more specifically, how to speak to them in a way that would draw them out. Problem with people with anxiety, as I've talked about, they like to hide. So how do I speak to them in a way that will bring them out of the shadows and be willing to say, yes, I'm going to be willing to pay some money to see if I can help myself work on my anxiety problem. So that's my part. So I think now it's time for your part.
Thank you, Jay. So when you come up here to ask Jay questions, you can make a line up here. Jay's going to stay on the screen by following that golden star. And then you can come stand in this general area, maybe next to the sign if they want some positioning. If you want to stand behind Lisa, she doesn't feel too nervous about it. And then all people online, you're going to be typing in questions if you have, or just say that you have a question on the chat. She's going to be pulling that up. And Lisa will call on you there. So come on up and ask any questions and any advice about the points of comments that he had.
Hi, I'm Brian Steiner of Noventum Custom Software. So first of all, thanks for helping people with their anxiety. I've never seen more of that than the past few years. So I think there's a need. My recommendation for your questions would be to construct a framework in which you can quickly iterate. And by that, I mean, many of our customers are uncertain about pricing, about offerings, about subscription models. So we try to build them out an e-commerce solution that they can very, very quickly change their prices, change their descriptions, change if it's a one-time purchase versus a recurring purchase, if it's a physical good, if it's a book, if it's an online course, whatever. And it's very, very easy for them to simultaneously try out all these different hypotheses and very quickly reject or accept different ones. So rather than looking for a solution, my recommendation would be to construct a way that you can iterate quickly.
Actually, I can appreciate that because just in creating my workshop for registration and payment, I realized that was a serious problem. So you're dead on, and I would always be willing to see some advice on how to do that.
Yeah, I can show you some of the e-commerce platforms that I think allow for that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any questions online? Just post them in chat and I'll call on you.
Oh, hello, Miriam Ortiz-Pino, Northern Organized. Hello, Gene. You have some resources pretty close at hand for a couple of those questions, but his wife is also a mini breakthrough business coach. So, but in terms of the venue and deciding between workshop model and funnel model, what do you want your business to be like? Because the amount of work and effort between the two and the results you'll get are very different. So if you start from what you want to create, it's easier to stay focused and create that than going back and forth and which one's going to be more successful. Start with identifying what that looks like to you.
Okay, I've resisted the funnel model because it is a lot of work.
So take it off the table.
Okay.
Do the other one. And you know, you're a people person. So I would you can do a hybrid version too, like this, where you have some in person and some online options as well. But I think trying to make yourself do something you're not into is not necessarily a great recipe for success.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's a slow build with workshops.
yes, I know,
I
thank
have a
you.
question. Jay, do you actually hypnotize people in these sessions, and can you do that virtually?
I do not. I would prefer to keep hypnosis in a private setting because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is not it's not a mysterious voodoo kind of thing. It's actually very common. We've all been in a state of hypnosis many times without realizing. But nonetheless, people can get very emotional in hypnosis, and that's probably really uncomfortable for a lot of people. So in the workshop, no.
So those are better one-on-one.
Right.
Can you do that virtually? Can you hypnotize a single person?
You can. It started happening more and more during COVID.
Yeah.
I elected not to go that route, but it's possible.
Sue, it looks like you and I had the same question, so I think we've been answered.
Okay.
Come on up, Paul.
Hi, I'm Paul Sutter with Equity. We develop and sell genetic tests for horses. So I'm trying to think about how a prospective customer might say yes to what you're offering. So I'm guessing this is not covered by insurance. So then everyone's favorite radio station is WIFM, right? What's in it for me, right? So your challenge is to try to explain to people what their life would be like with a lower level of anxiety. You know, what's possible for you if you had a lower level of anxiety, and you could have that by, you know, coming out of hiding, taking the risk of going to a workshop, putting up a little bit of money, and you could see your path to something else. So I think you have to in some way address what people's lives could be like if they weren't held back by this. Does that make sense?
It does.
That's just the suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch. Good to see you, Jay.
Hmm.
So I hear you about the funnel or not. I've done most of my business by just going directly to it and, you know, talking to people and building that way. But here at Fat Pipe, I had the opportunity to do a lunch and learn, which was an hour and a half freebie on authentic communication. And what I found by doing that here is people got to know who I am, got to know, like, and trust me, and then do a paid presentation. It wasn't that much more effort to do the lunch and learn here. In fact, I got some business out of it I wasn't even expecting. I really wasn't doing the lunch and learn as a lead generating model, but I did it just as a, hey, let's get on the court and play together. So if there was some way that you could see yourself doing that in what you're presenting in an anxiety workshop, you may be surprised. At least I was at the outcome. So I would encourage you, if you're even thinking about that, and I'm not a more than organized person, I'm just an entrepreneur that's been doing what I do and more for many years. So what are you hearing as I give you that feedback?
It doesn't have to be elaborate online activity, but other gatherings of people that I could create on my own. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, yes. And then I also did a hybrid with CNM. I did online and in person, which was not a paid, it was another free event. The city paid for it. But it was also playing with, how do I do this? And what I learned from that is go into the breakout rooms. So if you are doing, like I did, an online and in-person event, it was like, oh, there are breakout rooms I can walk into. I didn't even think about that, so that I could still have that one-on-one or one-on-two with people.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Sure. And I invited your wife to get on Zoom, so she's on.
Nice.
Oh, hi, Jess. Hi, Jess. Yes.
I'll, if I have more questions, I'll know where to find
Oh,
you.
I think, yeah, I'm not asking you many. I'm just giving you my opinions. Thanks.
We've got some online. Amy, go ahead and unmute yourself and give Jay your feedback, please.
Hi, Jay. I am really interested in hypnotherapy. My dad quit smoking by using a hypnotherapist several years ago, and he still doesn't smoke. So I'm a big fan. The only thing I would say is, I got your website and I went and took a gander at it. One of the things that people often do is, create a website and make it look like a business card. The best thing you can do is at the top of the fold of your website, talk about the features and benefits of what you do, how that helps someone improve their life. And then I noticed you didn't have any social media links. Having great content and optimizing that on the site will help you be found in search engine page. We call them search engine result pages. So if somebody's like anxiety relief Albuquerque, possibly they could find you. Another thing would be to create some social accounts, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok alone. I just looked because I was curious. 3.8 billion views for the hashtag anxiety relief. So just those few little pieces of advice is how I would help you get a better reach in your area.
Okay, I appreciate that. And actually, I kind of dabbled LinkedIn and Facebook, but I really was looking for some information about which of the other platforms might be suited for this kind of thing, or are they all equal? I don't know the answer to that question.
I would do all three. I would do Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. That's the three big ones. And if you create a content strategy that really talks about how you help people improve their lives, this is one of the things I always tell people that are putting their toe in social media: case it, copy and steal everything. So go and see what kind of content they're creating around your subjects. Anxiety relief would be the first one I would check out, and create content based on the other people who are in your space that are doing it well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's let Sue Prolazny give her feedback, and then we'll go back to you, Miriam. Yeah.
Hi, Jay. Thanks. Amy, those are really great points. I was asking kind of broadly to the audience, how many people really understand what hypnotherapy is? Have you ever used it? And I think for the reasons of your presentation, Jay, that's where I would start. Really, to give somebody, the basics, if you want to call it hypnotherapy 101. I've used hypnotherapy. I think it's amazing. And I think that talking about the benefits, like Amy said, would be also really important. We do think of it as like this voodoo thing if we haven't tried it ourselves.
Okay, that does bring up another subject, and that is, I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not necessarily trying to promote hypnotherapy. And I won't be doing it in the class. Now, there are things that hypnotherapy can help with in terms of anxiety. So if they want to do sessions with me, that's fine. But I was really looking for, and maybe I could say an extra income stream, or maybe even if it works into a more full income stream. So I'm not really pressing for the hypnotherapy itself right at this time.
Awesome.
But that's the business structure I've got set up, so I'm staying with it. That may be subject to change in the future, but right now that's the way it is.
Okay, quick follow-up, piggybacking on what people are hearing. And the reason it's so important to find a niche is you can't really do social media and SEO without knowing who you want to work with. So build that, and it gives you the opportunity to differentiate your anxiety work from your hypnotherapy work, and then upsell the hypnotherapy in the workshops. Mm-hmm. So it is connected, but you have to differentiate a little more clearly. And I think the other thing that Amy brought up about the social media, once you know which clients you want to work with, you'll know which social media channels to work with. None of my clients are on TikTok. So that generic, everybody's on TikTok, doesn't make sense. I have not found a single one of my clients that actually use TikTok. So know that. And the aspirational piece, who was it that was speaking about that? Paul. There's always that fine line between anxiety. There's such a level of it. Do you want to go for the very anxious people that barely come out of their house, or do you want to go with the higher level people that want to improve their performance and getting themselves out there? And how can you weave resilience into it? I feel like resilience has been taken out of the conversation entirely over the last few years. And it's all about accommodating. And so some of those topics may get you some of those people that are uncomfortable with talking about anxiety in terms of it's a failure or it's not good and that kind of thing. And the people that just know that they need a little push over the top. Just a thought.
Okay. I appreciate that
Yeah.
piece. And I wanted to back up just a little bit. One of the reasons that I'm not promoting hypnotherapy so much is that what I discovered in all of my research is that you really need to take a broader effort. So you've got the physiology to deal with as well as the mental, emotional, because a lot of anxiety is caused by mold, heavy metals, Lyme's disease. Some people are born with a proclivity towards anxiety because if the mother was anxious, the fetus gets all of those stress chemicals. So they're actually born to be set for anxiety already. So that really takes a whole lot more than just a traditional talk therapy or even hypnotherapy. And that's the reason I want to give in the workshop. Here's how broad this subject is, and you need to look at all of these different areas.
New John, thank you for your presentation. I'm familiar with hypnotherapy quite a bit. And one of the things I think might be valuable for you to take a look at is instead of even, like you say, using the word hypnotherapy, just remind people that we're all in a trance. Even anxiety is trance. And so how can you break that trance in favor of a different trance? And that's what I think. And if you think about rather than even an income stream, think of how many people can be helped with what you're doing. And when you do that, everything unfolds.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, I'm Andres. Nice to meet you. Speaking of anxiety, my heart's beating as I'm up here. But I just thought I'd share some thoughts with you. I work with people on social media too. I know a few people are in that space and video. One way that I manage my anxiety is just by listening to people on YouTube that are experts in the field. And it sounds like you're an expert in helping people with anxiety. So just being able to listen to experts through video just kind of helps you manage your own anxiety. So, and it helps build trust from you to prospective clients and to people that you could be working with. And the amazing thing about video right now is that everyone has it on their phone. You know, you can just point a video at your face and just be like, oh, I have this thought, like maybe use more affirmations during your day and that'll help you manage your anxiety, or maybe do this or that, you know, and I know you have a ton of great knowledge and content to share. So my question today is just, and not to super put you on the spot, but if you have anything just for any of us right now, because so much of social media is about giving value, and the more value you can give, like the more, like I said, trust you can build. So my question for you today is, are there any just basic ways you can help any of us today manage anxiety? Like what do you have for us?
You know, what I have to offer in that realm is what's in the last even 6 months has become a real national conversation, and that's breath work, breathing. So there's a lot of different techniques that are really viable. Some of it's called like the square. In breath for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. Something like that's pretty helpful. There's another one if you're actually kind of in a panic that is an inhale with one little extra at the end, and then exhale, long exhale. Longer exhales are almost always the case because that stimulates the vagus nerve, which is the nerve that helps bring you back. That's part of the resilience piece. But an example of this, and I can't remember what it's called, but it would be. So you have that extra little shot of inhale at the end. And do that several times until it kind of calms you down. That would be one piece.
Yeah, and imagine if that was on something like an Instagram reel or something, and somebody could take that away with them for the day and really use that, and seeing that work for them in their life would just build trust between you and a prospective client.
Okay,
So,
great.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Anna,
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Ava and I'm a self-healing guide. And I'm a bit confused about the word anxiety because a lot of the times patients or clients may self-diagnose, as you know, and it hides a lot of the real problems that are underneath, whether it's substance abuse, incest, rape, sexual abuse, all those things. So in your workshop, do you have an evaluation guide so that people can actually, have a checkoff point so that they know if that workshop is right for them or not? Because the deep breathing is demonstrated doesn't work for everybody, as you know.
Yes.
And it can be a cop-out, again, used as a distraction to run away from the problems instead of dealing with it.
Right. And the word anxiety, that it really brings up a nice issue because there's a lot of people in the field that want to just do away with that because it really doesn't say anything.
Right.
And what they are saying is perhaps a better way to describe it is simply activated nervous system. And of course, that can happen in a variety of ways. Even just too much caffeine, as you know, but drugs, even medications. If you're on a number of medications, that easily can cause anxiety. And that's something to be aware of. And so, yes, that was part of that kind of questionnaire was definitely part of what I was planning to do. So the person could start zeroing in on what area they really need to focus on. And that would be in the workshop rather than prior to the workshop saying, is this something I need? I'm trying to give people a broad enough perspective that they can narrow down where they need to go. So if the tools that I present in the workshop are not adequate, at least now they have a sense of what practitioners they might need.
Exactly. Okay,
Thank you.
Ava, Phil says hi. All right, we have any other questions? Adam?
Yeah. So well, I got a quick question, kind of to feel some things out before I do the last two questions. So when I was listening, did you talk much about, I might have missed it. Did you talk about much what you've tried so far to kind of connect with people?
Just use my email contact list for one thing. And then a few practitioners have put up flyers for me in related fields. And then, of course, a little bit on LinkedIn, Facebook.
Okay. And you've come here.
And I've come here.
So, okay. And then another thing I kind of think I heard throughout that, and you might have noticed too, is that people kept on going back to hypnotherapy because that was much more sexy than talking about anxiety. So I'm not too sure, like Miriam mentioned, somehow creating different niches or whatever that might have been. That seems to be a big hurdle as far as like separating the two. The real focus on that is to not talk about hypnotherapy.
That is a hurdle. And really the only reason I'm still attached to the hypnotherapy is that's where my credentials are. Not too many people are interested in going to a general contractor for anxiety.
Yeah,
I don't think that would really work. So
Get anxiety.
yeah, get anxiety. So that's really the connection is, okay, this guy has some kind of credentialing.
Yeah.
That might be
Give me some insight.
meaningful.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. That's a good point. Something to think about. So how could this, well, first of all, red or green?
Absolutely green, totally green.
Okay. There was someone that was happy about that. And then, how can this community help you?
Just with some continued advice on, follow up on the things that you have. I will say, one of the things that I would like to see down the line that, if you can give me additional insight on, I would like at some point to be taking this workshop, some version of it into the workplace, so that a company would hire me to come speak to their employees because it might improve their productivity. So any advice on how to make that leap would be really helpful.
Thank you, Jay.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. Do we have any newbies today? Not seeing any newbies online or. All right, you guys, you need to start inviting new people and bring your friends. Oh, is there one newbie online? Who? I think she might be gone. I don't see a Janice. Darn it. Let's see. I do have some events to share. So let me pull up my little Word document. And for this, I just kind of case the Slack channels and some that people provide to me via email. So ABQ Founder Syndicate Mixer is tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's today the 5th at UN 17. If you guys haven't been to any of those events, you should check them out. Have you been, Jen? Are they any good?
I have, they're good.
They're good. Awesome. Barbara Dawson's teaching strategies for marketing a small business, and that will be on April 13th at 11:30 here. You can register. I'll put this link in the chat window, but you can also register on our website, FatPipe NM. The future is here, AI-powered marketing for local businesses. Eitan is going to teach that for us. I'm really excited about that. I want my staff to all come to that because I think we could use a lesson in that. So that will be April 14th at 11:30 here. Activate NM has their drop-in mentoring for entrepreneurs. That used to be called their startup office hours. So drop-in mentoring for entrepreneurs. And the next one is April 21st. And then Jason Burnett continues his leadership series. The next one is April 27th here at 11:30. That will go from 11:30 to 1. And then starting the last 3 months of his series, we'll just do noon to 1. And then this one is from Carrie Vendor. She mentioned it in online last week, and then she sent me all the details so I could share with everyone. So in recognition and celebration of Small Business Month, the city of Albuquerque is going to do some small business resource fairs, and they split the city up into quadrants, and they're doing one in each of 4 quadrants. So you can go to their website at the link that I provided there to get information about all of them. And then you've got the various quadrants throughout Southwest, Southeast, Northwest, and Northeast. So if that interests you, or if you have more questions, I'm sure you'd be welcome to reach out to Carrie, and she'd be happy to answer them. But I will put this all in the chat window so you have links. And then anybody else here who needs it, just let me know. Anybody else have an event they want to announce?
Well, I will.
Come on up. Rosemary, let's see what you got.
So.
Okay.
I mentioned this last week during my presentation, but I'm going to mention it again. I am teaching a cold wax painting and mixed media workshop at Howard Arts Center to coincide with Earth Day weekend. So it's the Saturday and Sunday of April 22nd and 23rd at Howard Arts Center, and the flyers are here on the table.
Thank you. Come on up.
On the start?
Yes.
Hello, Alicia Smith, been a while. Anyway, you can follow my events on Alicia's Mobile Restroom. What's coming up now is our Coffee Connect. Coffee Connect is May the 16th. Okay, all right. Say hi.
Oh.
All right, and Boston Network happy hour is May the 19th, but you can follow both pages. And if you want any more information, I'll still be here, so.
Thank
All
you.
right. I didn't think you were gonna come up.
I mentioned last week, CNM is having an internship fair on April 20th. If you want more information about that, including how to participate and identify interns, get in touch with me. I emailed the link to a couple people last week, so I'll email it to you. Thanks.
I think.
Oh, gonna close us out here, right?
So.
All right, it's been another great week at Million Cups. We've been on a roll the last few weeks, I'd say. You've seen people get a lot of good help from this audience, and people here are very giving and very kind. So encourage your friends to apply, or if you haven't presented, or if you presented 6 months ago and got the email, hey, it's time for an update, take us up on that offer and take this stage. And in between now and next Wednesday, do what you can to help out another entrepreneur. See you next Wednesday.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.